Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering You. Our guest today, Edwina Adams, is from College Station, Texas, and I'm super excited to hear her story that she wants to share. Hello, Edwina. Thank you so much for being here with us. How are you?
Hey, Latasha, I'm great. I appreciate being a guest.
Yes, I am just so thrilled to have you here and to talk with you. So, Edwina, could you just share with our audience, who you are and, some of the things that you had to overcome and get through to be this amazing individual you are today?
Thank you. Well, I've done several things in my life, and I've been in the military. I was in EMS for a long time and been a business owner for almost 20 years. But my story today, where I want to talk about and share, is a part of my life that I actually didn't talk about until a little less than a year and a half ago. And it took me 16 years to start publicly speaking about it. But my first husband, that marriage didn't go so well. And when I left him, I knew I needed to get out, right? And that was a little scary at times, but I did get out. And then soon after that, I learned that he actually was a con man. I mean, there were things about him that he just wasn't who he said he was or who I thought he was, who most people in my family thought he was, who our friends thought he was. And it was very, that is a big part of who I am today, right? It literally altered the course of my life.
Yeah, so, a con man, like what, I know some people when they hear that they're like, a liar or a cheater, things like that. So, what exactly like took place? Like what happened? And when did you realize that you were okay with sharing your story? I know you said it was like a year and a half ago, but what took place for you to decide now is the time to share my story?
Yeah. So with a con man, they do lie, they do cheat, right? But there's just a whole other level of um deception that is mind-boggling, and you can't fathom it. Like if you're an honest person and you treat people the way you should treat people, right? You really don't see that level of deception coming, because with a con man, I know this now, I didn't even realize for years that the word con man comes from confidence man. So they are very confident in their lies and their story, and that's why they could typically keep it straight for decades. But they also attach themselves to confident people. So you would think they would go after people who are not confident.
Mhm.
And that is how it makes you feel. Like when you've been conned, you feel like, oh my gosh, I must be the worst kind of person to be fooled like that, right? But the truth is, they like to attach themselves to confident, independent people, and that's who I was. So I thought I was this very empowered woman. Even with him, I was in the military. I was a paramedic. I mean, I was a very independent woman, and yet I was fooled by a con. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what your original question was to that,
Oh,
but
no, no. So what I was wanting to see is you had said that he was a con man. And so, most people when they think of that, it's a liar or a cheater or things like that. And so I just wanted more of how he was a con man. And I know it was a year and a half ago that you said that you started sharing, but what made you decide that that was the time? Like what took place?
right. So what happened a year and a half ago was that so after I left him, I had gone on and then became an entrepreneur. So I was still trying to, not trying, but I was still this independent woman doing my thing, right? Um, but his conning that I learned about that would unfold in these years to come is that and forgive me because a lot of this I'm still not speaking about publicly, so I'm not trying to be evasive for a reason. There are actually some very high profile people that he conned, very in the public eye, and I will disclose that eventually. It's just out of respect for them.
Yeah.
being careful with how I share this story just yet,
No, I
um,
understand.
because it's still so new for me sharing too, and I'm a little afraid. But um, but his deception was such that he literally just wasn't the person he said he was. So and a lot can go into that. And again, I'm being a little evasive for that, I know. But what happened to me was that here I go about living my life, and I'm just, I'm starting a business and then another business. I get remarried. I have two beautiful children. I'm still married to my second husband. He's a wonderful man. And, but periodically, and I'll say about once a year, because I was kind of in the public eye with my business, I was very easily found, right? So it dawned on me that my ex was still trying to connect with me, and he would do it in a way where it was a fake name, a fake email, and be communicating with me through my business. And then I don't know how, I really just think it was God giving me like a knowing. I wish it would have been sooner, because then I would eventually like be like, oh my gosh, this is him. Like I just knew it. I knew I couldn't prove it. It just freaked me out, and I knew it was him trying to contact me. And I was so frustrated. And it may have been happening way more than I know, but I would sense it about once a year, uh, leading up to me talking about it. And it had happened for the last time about 2 years ago. And every time I would pull back, because it freaked me out. I was like, why, after all this time, is he still messing with my head and trying to do this? Like, just leave me alone? And I mean, I haven't seen him literally in almost 17 years now. So I would just get this feeling, and heck, even if it wasn't him, just for me to have that feeling, right, meant there was something I needed to deal with.
Yeah.
And I told my husband now, who ironically is actually a mental health therapist. He wasn't when we first met, but he is now. And so he's very supportive of my story and my journey. And I said, I think I'm going to start talking about this. I've been quiet for 16 years. And so I've been quiet for 16 years, and I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I think if I start making noise, he will be the one to run away because he doesn't want the story out there. So I'm done being quiet. I'm not silent anymore. And I developed this concept of making noise. And I didn't even have a personal TikTok a year ago, April. And I was home one day by myself, and I just had a prompting to make a video. Before I knew it, I had the app. I created a channel. I uploaded a video. I don't even know what I said. I posted it. I logged out. I walked away. And then I came back hours later, and it had blown up. And I was like, oh crap, what have I done? Now I have to talk about it. And it was a terrible video. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't say everything, but it was so cathartic to just get it out and start making noise. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, so I know being authentic and being true is what draws people. I think everyone is just so over all the fakeness and all the, you know,
Yes.
this image that everyone thinks they have to uphold to. So when people see someone being so true and genuine, it's like, oh, this is a real person. Really, this isn't like a computer. This isn't like scripted. It's real. So I'm glad that it turned out to be a good thing, and not, sometimes when people share, the public take it a whole different, direction, than what it was meant for. So I'm glad it worked out great for you. Um, your kids, did you have kids before or did you not have?
No, I did not have any children with my first husband. So we were together though almost 10 years.
Okay.
So we dated, and then we were married 7 years. So,
Um, and you had mentioned that you were afraid of leaving him. Were you afraid because of like his reaction or afraid of just leaving him in general?
well, he did have a temper, and thank God, like he never. physically harmed me, um, because he could have easily killed me. Now, leading up to me leaving him, there were a few incidences where it was very promising that I was going to get hurt, and it was very scary. So, in the days and the weeks and the months after I had left him, I mean, I was literally looking over my shoulder, you know. I mean, there were times things happened to my car and this and that, and I know it was him. And um, so, yeah, it was a very weird departure from that relationship. It was almost like things turned overnight, you know. Um, I believe now that the reason why he was able to get away with conning me personally for so long is that, again, I was very independent, right? I was a very busy woman. And a lot of that time we actually lived apart because, I mean, I was in the military off doing things, and then there were times where I was working full time in EMS. I was also in school full time, and then I was in the military in the reserves. And so there was a lot going on with my life, and it made it real easy for him to do what he did, you know? And that was really before social media took off too. So like everything wasn't online where women were able to contact me and be like, "Hey, this is your man doing this," you know, like
Yeah.
that happens a lot now. And
Aw.
and that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing. So he flew under the radar for a long time.
Well, I mean, I'm glad now that, it's coming to light and, you are no longer in that situation. And, hopefully now, I know you said that, he was still trying to contact you, but hopefully now that's not a thing. Like there's no more of him trying to reach out to you, or have you just been able to manage to avoid it because, God's been with you, or is there like a reason why he has not been able to reach you?
Yeah, so he still could very well be doing the same things. I don't sense that he has. Because I know for a fact that he watches my online activity, that has been proven. Um, I know that now he knows I'm talking about it. So again, like, go ahead, bud, contact me
Right.
because I'm going to talk more, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
going to, I'm going to make noise. And I know I mentioned backstage to you that the noise for me, though, in Let's Make Some Noise, because I have a podcast called Let's Make Some Noise and different things, is not just me showing up in the world as an angry middle-aged woman ranting about my ex, because I am a very positive person and I want to encourage other people as well, is that noise is a narrative of inspiration, strength, and encouragement. That's the acronym of noise for me. So I'm turning my whole journey with him, what I've gone through, like internally, and all the emotions and the roller coaster of that, and getting over the fact that of feeling like a failure and feeling like um, just being very humbled by it, right? I was very humbled by what I went through with him. And this is going to be a positive thing for me. I'm going to turn it into something positive, and it has.
Yes, I love that. I love hearing that. And I love that you have that mindset, like there are so many people who go through things and like experience things and they never see the lesson, right? Like it's more of a why. And so to see people be able to come through something and see, I don't want to say like the good, but make it good, right? Like they use it
Yeah.
for good instead of using it for a negative reasons, right? So I love that you are in that mindset, and I love that you are, speaking because voice is a powerful, powerful thing. And so many people are just so used to nobody talking, right? Like no one's going to talk. We can do things however we want and we can say whatever we want. And no one's ever going to know any different because who's going to tell them, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
so hearing, that people are now speaking up and using their voice and doing it for a good cause, and trying to encourage others to use their voice. I love that. And I love that that is what you are doing. So with that, like, what is it that you do now? I know you had said that you had a podcast. and you were doing other things. So what have you done since that has happened? And, what has it given you the power to realize you can do?
Yeah, so now, I mean, I'm doing public speaking and I talk about like becoming a noisemaker. And I've have this framework called Rocky Water for like how I've overcome a lot of things and use that to turn adversity into positive noise. And I just wrote a book, so that I'm a co-author in that, and that just came out last week, actually.
Oh,
It's called Dare to
congratulations.
Dream Big.
Yes.
Thank you. It's called Dare to Dream Big, and it does have to do with entrepreneurship, a lot of it. But I'm very vulnerable, and I write about my whole journey and talk about, how came through all this adversity, making that noise.
That is amazing. So now that you talk about it and now that you're doing things, to allow others, to use your platform to talk about it, their experiences with stuff, like how has that helped you with healing? Like I know some people are afraid to talk about things because, either one, in their mind, they feel like not talking about it is better than talking about it. But then I also know some people who used to think that way. And then once they started talking about it, they realized the power um, that comes along and the healing that they feel when they're talking about it. So how has that made you feel?
It, like I said, it's just so cathartic. But I do think there's a time and a place for everything. And I believe that, like the guest spoken to on my show that have reiterated this idea to me is that many of them didn't start talking about things they had been through until they were 50, like
Yes.
50, 60. So it's very common and there must be a reason for it. Like there are seasons, right? You have because when something so big happens to you, for one, there's shock, there's denial, it's all the things, just like with, with death, basically. Um, and life is full of seasons, but it's some people get stuck, though. Some people get stuck on a season. And I think it's just knowing that go through those seasons, do what you need to do, grieve, heal, be angry for a moment, you know, learn who you are. And then when you come out of that, make noise, right? That's when you start showing up because people need you to do that. People need your story.
Yes. So I know with like my clients and some of the guests that I have spoken to, they also have been older, but what I have realized when talking with them is some of them didn't even realize that they still needed to heal. Like in their mind, they thought they already did heal, right? Because this is things that's happened years and years ago. And so they've never talked about it, and they just, as you have said, life, right? Life happens, and sometimes when when something happens to you, you're at a different spot in your life, and so you're just doing what you have to do to get through, right? And by doing that,
Yeah.
sometimes means you just don't talk about it, right? And you handle everything the best way that you can, and then so many years go by and no one's talked about it. So obviously in your mind you're thinking, okay, I've been able to get through this on my own. I've been able to get here and do this, and then it's not until you see certain patterns or you see things that you're doing in your life that maybe others don't do, or that just doesn't seem like a normal thing for people to be doing, and then you look and you try to see why that's happening, right? Like, well, why do I respond to it that way, and you don't
Yeah.
think that you're responding because of what took place. You're thinking that's just the way you respond to things, and then when you realize it's because of something happening, you know then it's like, oh, okay. And people don't have the time to see that until later on in life because they're so busy with life, they're so busy working and taking care of their kids, doing, showing up, being that person that they don't have time to stop and look at their self or their, self-care or their own mental health and different things because they're so concerned and worried about their family. Did you notice any of that with you when you were going through your journey?
Yes. And, I'll say this now, being on the other side of finally talking about it, is that I don't, I truly don't think you can be healed until you've reached that point to where you start talking about it. I think there's healing and you have healed some, but I think to bring it full circle, and to start talking and helping others, like that's the whole point of it. Like, why even go through all that if you're not going to use it to help others,
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
like, I just think that's a part of it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and I totally agree with that because um you do things in like your daily life again that you don't realize is because of what took place and just how you are used to protecting yourself, right? Like, children when they experience trauma, they do form a wall, right? Like, because that's how their body and their mind is protecting the child. And so that wall only gets thicker and taller as they grow. So when they become an adult, that's just something they've always had. They may not connect it to what took place. It's just this wall has been here. This is why I am this way. I'm this way because that's just what I know. That's just what I do. And it's not until, they're able to dig deeper to realize why that wall was formed. Um, I know as a parent, I 100% was always on guard, as most parents are, but I feel maybe a little bit too much on certain things, because you just don't want your child to go through or experience some things maybe that you have. Did you also find yourself doing that as a mom?
Yeah, definitely. And I just thought of something that I've never said before, but you were talking about, those walls naturally go up, right? Which is a good thing. When you're traumatized and when things happen, you should put up a wall because then you should be like, okay, whoa, why did that happen? How can I stop this again? And then what I think talking about things does, like when you get to that point you're talking, I think what it does is it allows because that wall's not coming down. Like there are things I have learned, you're not going to fool me again. And if you do, like I can be fooled again, but if you do, I am better equipped to handle it, right? And I can
Yeah.
get over it quicker.
Mhm.
So that wall is always going to be there, but I feel like there's a gate now.
Yes.
There's a gate that I'm able to open, but I can quickly close it if I need to and move along. So I think I'm very grateful for all the things that I've learned going into motherhood. I have taught my kids know that I was married before. They know what kind of person I was married to, and they're not even teenagers yet. So I don't want them to be as naive as I was. And I know that anybody can be tricked, like I said. But I want if that were to ever happen to them, hopefully they could get over it easier or spot it much sooner than I did, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does happen, at least they have someone with knowledge of how to move forward and deal with, you know, things like that. So, they're not trying to figure it out on their own and, not able to heal sooner. So what was your podcast called again? I know you mentioned it earlier. It slipped my mind.
Yeah. It's called Let's Make Some Noise.
Let's make some noise. I love that. I love that. And you bring guests on and they talk to you about their journey with
I
life and
do.
things.
Yes.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is fantastic. So is there anything that you want to tell our guests, like information wise, that you want to like make sure they are aware of and different things like that?
I think the main thing with like these empowering shows like yours is that people hear these stories as frequently as they can because and know that maybe you're not ready to talk,
Hmm.
but don't put that off the table and do get to that point, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
sooner rather than later, because then once you do that, you can turn that corner, install your gate, and go out and help other people because you're going to need to let down that wall a little bit to help people.
Right. And what I also love about these type of shows is the more you listen, the more knowledge you also are getting for yourself, right? Like, there's, for you, like your story. When I hear of a con man, I think of a liar, I think of a thief, I think of that type of thing, right? But then hearing you and hearing your story, I'm like, oh, it's deeper, and these are things, that maybe people should be paying attention to and not just looking for signs of, continuing lying or stealing or things like that. Like there's things that are deeper. So, you know, these type of shows, when people come on and share their journey, it is very, you know, one, powerful, but it's filled with knowledge for those that are listening and that can take it in and hear what's going on, and you know they can apply some of that to their life, so they maybe can avoid things, or it can help them through, you know, what they're going through. Do you see that with your own show and with your guest, you know, like certain tools, or you know, like you giving the
Yeah.
information about common?
Yeah, one of my first guests was a woman I met on TikTok, and oh, this will blow you away. So she saw my very first video, and this woman, she's older than me, and she reached out and she said, "Oh my gosh, I totally believe you." Well, she had written a book about, now she's a psychologist, and she was married to another psychologist. And years ago, decades ago, actually, um, she did not know that her husband was living a double life until he ended up brutally murdered. And it's this crazy story. Her book is amazing. Like, it's so well done. And anyway, I had her be a guest, and we have communicated. She's a friend now. But here this woman is, like I said, I'm almost 50. I'm 48. She's older than me. And I'm one of very few people that she feels like understands her, because not many people have talked about this, but we're not the only two, three, four, five, 10 people in the world have been conned. Like, there's a lot of them out there, but it's such an embarrassing thing to go through, because I'm telling you, you feel stupid.
Right.
You feel like, how I must be the dumbest person in the world to live with somebody who isn't even who they say they are. Like, what kind of person does that? That's what you're feeling. But you're not alone if you're going through that. And you're not stupid. So that's the biggest thing I want people to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you know that. Like, I'm glad you know that you're not stupid, right? And I'm glad, again, that you found your voice. And I hope you know how powerful your voice is and your story, right? Like, I know it's not easy sharing. And I love that you are sharing, and I'm, you know, very grateful that you're here sharing with me. Um, you know, yeah, it's not an
Thank you.
easy thing. And I just, yeah, hearing your story and hearing what you've been through, and you know, talking backstage, like it's amazing. And I can see, you know, the emotion and how raw it is still for you. So um I'm just glad that you are taking the steps to make it not so raw for you, and getting stronger. That is, and you're getting stronger by helping others, you know, and not everyone can do that, you know, not everyone can get their self um, out there and talk about raw things that are so close still yet, and share it to help others, and you are, you know, so that says a lot about the person that you are. And I am grateful that I have come, you know, across you, and that we are connected, because that's, you know, yeah,
Thank you.
healing
I
is,
would like to add something to that. And this is what I talk about when I speak about this, is that just because you start talking about things and you heal and you're making your noise, right? Um, doesn't mean you have to be a public speaker or have a podcast. Like,
Mhm.
there are people that I will never reach, whether it's the secretary in your office or your sister-in-law, you know, they'll hear your voice. They won't hear mine. Speak up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and I think people don't know where to go to speak up sometimes, you know? And so being a voice and just telling others what's happening, so they can also just be supportive for you. Like, if people don't know what's going on, they can't support you, they can't help you, they can't be there for you, right? And if they don't know what's going on, then that just allows the individual to be more powerful towards you because they know you're not going to talk. Nobody wants anyone to talk about what they've done ever.
Right.
Um, and once they see that you are getting your voice and you are not afraid to talk, then that's when they start getting antsy and anxious and like, don't talk about me. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, don't say anything about me. And it's even worse when you have, evidence to back what you're saying. It's not just a he said, she said thing because, unfortunately nowadays people do just make up a crap of stuff just to try to have a story, and so it's always easier for us when we're telling our story and we're, talking about things. You know, it's easier to have like evidence based, like, yeah, this is what happened, and this is how this is going, and not just a he said, she said, because nowadays people are afraid to believe anyone, unfortunately. And that should not be the case at all. So I love doing this and interacting with raw, genuine people who really have experienced hard times and going through hard times, and that are now on the other end that just want to encourage and empower others. So thank you so much for being one of those individuals. And, I truly hope you know how just amazing you are and powerful, you are going to be, and inspirational you are to others. Because I know when you're in it, it's hard to see that sometimes.
Mhm. Thank you very much, Latasha, and thank you for your empowerment today. And, I think the final thing I would like to add on top of what you're saying is that when you do share, don't, you may not need to get on TikTok and share with a bunch of, a million strangers, but share where you feel safe.
Yes.
So if it's just finding a group of women that don't even know you, they don't know the people involved, those are usually the safest places. So then you don't have to worry about all the extra questioning of you and different things. And it's just a place for you to just literally get it out of your body. Like that's so, so important. So do that at a minimum. And then if you feel prompted to do something really ridiculous, like make a TikTok video to a bunch of millions of people, then do that. But only if you feel prompted to do it. That may never happen for you, and that's okay.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And I'm not sure how this has worked for you, but I know for me, all of my guests that have come on my show, like we have all just stayed connected. It's like a community, like we're all still just connected. We're all supporting, we're all talking and, just showing up when we feel like someone is needing something, or, maybe even if someone's just having a rough day and we can realize that, like we all just like show up. So I love that about being able to do this. And, it's never anyone judging anyone or anyone, like, oh, well, so and so is out doing this and, maybe they shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just very, yes, do that. Make yourself, known, hear your voice, let others hear your voice. It's just a support, loving community that I have found with talking to different individuals along their journey. So, again, I'm grateful that now I have you a part of my community, and I hope that we just continue to see you grow with what's going on, and keep being powerful. Definitely.
Thank you very much. Yes,
Yes.
I'm happy to have you in my circle.
Yes. So, with that, can you let our audience know like ways that they can reach you if they maybe want to be on your show, or maybe about your book, or um, public speaking. I know you said you do that, so that way they can connect with you if they would like.
Yeah, I have all of my links because I do several different things. So you can go to edwinaadams.com/links and you'll find there's like a podcast guest form on one of my pages. There's a book link form. All the things are there. So just edwinaadams.com/links.
Perfect. I love that. All right. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing this amazing journey that you have experienced and that you are still in the midst of experiencing, and just being genuine and raw with us today. So I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. And I definitely
Thank you.
look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode.
Thanks, Latasha.
Thank you, sweetie.